The BRICS group is set to admit 6 new members as the bloc pledges to counter Western-led economies. Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin is presumed dead, with many world leaders pointing the finger of blame at President Putin.
The Fukushima nuclear plant begins discharging wastewater into the Pacific Ocean, sparking outcry from local fishermen and even import bans from China.
Donald Trump set to surrender himself over charges of trying to overturn the 2020 election. His former lawyers already handed himself in. BRICS is set to get bigger and stronger in Africa. The group of emerging economies formed by Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa has announced it will have 6 new members from next year.
We have decided to invite the Argentine Republic, the Arab Republic of Egypt, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates to become full members of BRICS. The membership will take effect from the 1st of January 2024. In this regard, BRICS leaders have tasked them.
Created with the aim of acting as a counterweight to a Western-led world order, BRICS brings together regional giants with growing political and economic weight, does not demand credentials such as respect for human rights, and has not condemned the invasion of Ukraine. The Russian president, a founding member, took part virtually as there's an arrest warrant against him issued by the International Criminal Court. Wagner mercenary boss Yevgeny Prigozhin is presumed dead after being confirmed as a named passenger on a plane that crashed en route between Moscow and St. Petersburg, according to the country's aviation authority. A posting on a Wagner-affiliated channel proclaimed that Prigozhin was a hero of Russia, a true patriot of his motherland, and that he's died as a result of the actions of traitors to Russia. A key Wagner commander, Dmitry Utkin, also reportedly died in the crash. Flight tracking data showed that the transponder signal on the private jet that Prigozhin had used previously suddenly disappeared. It's unclear what caused the plane to fall out of the sky. Russian state television carried the story of the crash, quoting details from the Federal Air Transport Agency. 3 crew members, including the pilot, were among the dead. Prigozhin last appeared in a video earlier this week, which was said to have been filmed in an unspecified location in Africa. He'd been keeping a low public profile since heading a short-lived mutiny in June. International reaction has many government leaders monitoring the situation.
I don't know for a fact what happened, but I'm not surprised. There's not much that happens when Russia and Putin are not behind, but I don't know enough to know the answer.
Once President Putin's right-hand man, observers say Prigozhin may have paid the ultimate price for criticizing those in power.
Fukushima's Daiichi nuclear power plant has begun discharging treated and diluted radioactive wastewater into the Pacific Ocean. The decision comes after the UN's nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, approved the release, saying the radiological impact would be negligible. But many people, including fishermen in the region, fear that discharging the treated water will affect their livelihoods. Greenpeace is warning that the filtration process is flawed and that an immense quantity of radioactive material will be dispersed into the sea over the coming decades. And China imposed a ban on Japanese seafood, while South Korea has voiced outrage. It's just over 12 years since a massive earthquake and tsunami hit Japan's northeastern coast and caused 3 reactors at the plant to go into meltdown. Radioactive water has accumulated at the site ever since, hampering the daunting and delicate task of removing the deadly, toxic, melted debris from the reactors.
Former President Donald Trump is set to turn himself in at Fulton County Jail in Atlanta. He faces 13 charges, including racketeering and election meddling linked to the 2020 presidential election process in the state of Georgia. Trump denies any wrongdoing and says the charges are politically motivated.
Who paid for your jet down here? No comment.
Meanwhile, Trump's former personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, is one of 18 co-defendants who've begun turning themselves in. Giuliani was arrested on election subversion charges and then bailed.
I am very, very honored to be involved in this case, because this case is a fight for our way of life. This indictment is a travesty. It's an attack on not just me, not just President Trump, not just the people in this indictment, some of whom I don't even know. This is an attack on the American people.
The Georgia case is the latest in a series of criminal indictments filed against Trump. He faces 78 charges across 3 other criminal cases, including an investigation into his alleged mishandling of classified documents.
The first Republican primary debate has taken place with all candidates, bar one, former US President Donald Trump, performing in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The first clash of hopeful presidential nominees took advantage of an absent Trump to get their message across. Although desperate for the top job, most of the 8 candidates have said they would back the former president, even if he was convicted of any of the 91 charges he's currently facing. Trump said he skipped the debate, as he said he was out in front with a commanding lead and didn't need the, quote, aggro.
At least 4 people have been killed in a shooting at a Southern California biker bar. It happened on Wednesday evening at Cook's Corner in rural Trabuco Canyon in Orange County. The attacker was a former police officer who opened fire during an argument with his wife. He was shot and killed by law enforcement officers. So far this year, there have been more than 640 mass shootings in the United States.
The Ukrainian advance in the bulletin area in western Zaporizhia region brings Ukrainian forces closer to launching operations against second lines of defense that may be relatively weaker than the first Russian defensive line in this area. The Institute for the Study of War says Russian forces deployed to the wider western Zaporizhia area have been defending against Ukrainian counteroffensive since the start of it without rotation. They do not appear to have uncommitted regular units in this area. This suggests that second lines of Russian defense may be significantly less heavily defended. Ukrainian offensive operations in other sectors of the front remain important because they can fix Russian units in place and prevent further lateral reinforcement. Ukrainian offensive operations south of Velika Novosilka, here in this area, proceeding in parallel with operations towards Melitopol in this direction, present Russian defenders with multiple dilemmas and the need to choose which axis to reinforce. Ukrainian offensive operations around Bakhmut here have fixed elements of multiple Russian airborne divisions and separate brigades in the area, as the Institute for the Study of War has previously noted, rendering them likely unavailable to stiffen Russian resistance in the south of Ukraine. The Institute for the Study of War states sound campaign design requires balancing between waging a decisive main effort and avoiding allowing the enemy to concentrate all reserves on stopping a single obvious thrust.
Voting has been extended for an extra day in Zimbabwe's elections to accommodate people still waiting to cast their ballots after a larger than expected turnout. An ever-worsening economic situation is the main issue for voters in a repeat of the 2018 election, pitting President Emmerson Mnangagwa against his charismatic challenger Nelson Chamisa. 11 candidates are vying for top office, but the real contest is between Mnangagwa's ruling ZANU-PF party and Chamisa of the Citizens Coalition for Change.
Record-breaking temperatures are expected to hit the French city of Lyon in the coming days, and many find themselves looking for shade. With a heat dome settled above this part of Europe, some tourists from the north of France are surprised by the temperature difference.
On est arrivé à 11h,
Ce matin,
un quart ce matin à
ouais.
la gare. Ouais, il y a 15 degrés d'écart, donc
Ouais.
ouais, quand même.
Emphasis has been put on green spaces to counter the heat wave. With opening hours extended, inhabitants can benefit from parks in the city for their relative coolness. It is one of the few measures put in place by the city to help its inhabitants to cope with the heat.
While several departments in southeastern France are on maximum alert due to the heat wave, some town halls like this one here are setting up air-conditioned rooms to protect their residents.
For Véronique Dubois-Bertrand, mayor of Lyon's 3rd district, creating such space is crucial for the most vulnerable people.
Les personnes âgées qui d'habitude jouent au tarot ou à la belote dans les parcs, peuvent venir ici pour faire leur partie au frais et continuer à avoir cette vie sociale qui est importante.
This is the case for Michelle, who decided to come and enjoy this space away from her apartment, which she says she cannot cool down.
Et que chez moi il fait trop chaud. Au bout de quelques jours, enfin depuis 3 jours, on ne peut pas faire descendre la température en dessous de 30 degrés et c'est même 31 aujourd'hui. Donc,
But more permanent solutions are needed in European cities. A recent study found that 62,000 people died in Europe of heat-related causes during 2022, while 2023 already broke several heat records.